All right, guys, we are back again with another COVID cabal. If you guys are here, as always, leave a comment in the chat. Drop a comment in the chat. I want to see who's here. If you're not here, it doesn't matter that I only gave you guys like 5 minutes notice. If you guys are not here, then you fucked up, and I'm gonna know who it is. So if you are here, that's right, Rudy's here. So if you are here, you gotta drop a comment in the chat. If you're not here, I'm taking names here. T-Dog's here. Let's go, guys. Drop a comment in the chat if you are here. I don't want you to be on my shit list. Drinking today a probiotic seltzer. Very healthy. Very delicious. Very delicious. Obviously, the probiotic angle is bullshit, but let's do it. Okay, this is what I like. Fox Forger's present. We got Atticus here. We got Nikitas. This is good. This is good. This is good. All right. So I apologize for taking a little bit of time. We got Uncle Guns here too. I apologize for and he's right. He always does this. He's like he's helping people advertise my site. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tutor's here. This is what I like to see. 5-minute notice, and we got the chat blowing up. That's what I like to see. That's COVID Cabal. That's COVID Cabal Season 2 right here. All right, guys. I'm going to get into it. Not going to do a crazy long show today. I want to have another short show, maybe later this week, just dedicated completely to that enormous thread that Emerald Robinson had. That I think it's important for us to look at that just because it's a recap on literally what started this entire thing. I think it really breaks down what happened the end of 2020 and the early 2021 when you guys know COVID Cabal is going crazy. I was wilding out back then, but we're gonna do that next show. Because I haven't had a chance to properly review it. I literally had a client cancellation last minute, and this was an opportunity for me to get a COVID Cabal in. I have been absolutely slammed. Okay, good stuff. It's the good kind of slammed, right? Get in anticipation of the baby, moving stuff out of storage, getting rid of things in anticipation of the move to Poland. Lots of new clients coming in, still writing the book, huge fitness program. There's a lot of stuff going on. And last couple of weeks, I hate to say it, but the shows have slacked. We are getting shows on the calendar booked for next week. I'm blocking off time in my calendar. So we're going to have much more consistency with the COVID Cabal. Definitely getting you guys at least one COVID Cabal every week. I want to work up to 2. And we're also doing dating relationship periscopes too. A lot of topics on that. I got an interview tomorrow with Trina, and we got another interview coming up. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff. I know you guys aren't here for the fucking housekeeping, but I had to just give you an idea that we're back. We never left. We just, we're just moving boxes and got lots of shit going on. So with all that being said, there has not been a lot happening, but there's been a lot happening, right? And this is part of the reason why I've also kind of felt like, not compelled to have a show, because I like to have shows when there's a problem to be solved, right? I like a show to address a problem. So when we have the Iran-Israel crisis, or when we have the Epstein stuff, I want to have a show because I want to talk to you guys. And I want to say, okay, let's try to figure out exactly what's going on here. Because you have multiple different competing narratives. I want to help you guys to make sense of it. And also, of course, help myself to make sense of it through, going through all the evidence. We haven't really had that recently. It's not to say that we haven't had anything happen, but it's just been prelude stuff, which I know a lot of us are like, let's just get it over with already. But and I know this is now, especially it's old news, but Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's intelligence drop about the Russiagate hoax, which, by the way, I think is very connected to the Epstein stuff. I don't mean directly. I mean why she dropped it when she did, there very well may have been some connection with trying to change the narrative. Because I don't know if you guys remember if I said it on a show or if I just said it on Twitter, but one of the things that I think was really making Trump take damage over Epstein. I don't really know that it's so much Epstein, although don't get me wrong, we do want to find out what happened. And we want the truth, and we don't want this whole constant thing where, the perception of Trump kind of covering for Israel, right? And, thinking that Epstein's a Mossad agent, does that mean Trump can't reveal it because he's an Israeli, he's controlled by Israel, or Israel controls too much to block it, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that people don't care about that. But what people really care about, I would say in MAGA, much more than specifically Epstein, is that we want people rounded up, put on trial, and at a bare minimum, put in Guantanamo for the rest of their lives. I think, frankly, what we really want is some public executions. I'm just being blunt about that. Everybody I talk to, we want these people. Some boomers are a little hesitant about that still, but they still want them arrested. I mean, there is a real deep, visceral desire to have people held accountable. And so what I was saying is, like, Trump is taking on a lot more damage when it comes to Epstein, not only because of the bad messaging, but he's taking on a lot more damage with Epstein because there hasn't been any arrests. So it feeds into the whole perception that nothing's happening. This is all just a dog and pony show. And we haven't had the arrest yet, right? But Gabbard coming out publicly, making her case on Fox very, very, very eloquently for, 8 to 10 minutes. I don't remember the exact amount of time, but really just going through the entire reasons, the connection between Clinton and Obama and how they weaponized the intelligence agencies, fabricated evidence to try to stop, Trump's administration, which is, treason. I don't really get these immunity arguments with Obama. But again, as people have said, it doesn't really matter, because if Obama was part of a continuing conspiracy after he left office, then he's still, accountable to it. I know that people want the arrest to happen like yesterday, but when the director of national intelligence comes out and it accuses former presidential candidate and former president of treason and outlines the entire evidence for it and recommends them for criminal prosecution, if you don't think anything's going to happen, I think that you are you're the one who's starting to become a little, I don't want to even call it naive. I want to say jaded. And this is what I want to talk about with, like, one of the things I want to mention here with, like, the whole nothing there's just like this big debate. Like, it's the nothing ever happens group. And then there's the, I don't know, is it the plan truster? I don't know what it is. Like, maybe those are the two camps. I forget the lingo. But there's a camp that really believes that it's all screwed. They're sort of doomers. Things are just going to get worse and worse. And then there's people who believe, no, things are going to really change, and they might change quite a bit, right? Well, I mean, I don't know how you can, like, the doomer argument is falling apart. I mean, we're bringing in record revenue to the United States. Migration's actually reversed. First time in 50 years it's reversed. Nothing's ever good enough for these people. They don't like progress, because if things get better, that means that they have to take on responsibility to help fix things, right? When things are going bad, you can just opt out. You can say, I'm not going to do anything because things are already so bad. What's the point? What's the point of doing everything? I'm plugging into my VR headset, and I've got the fucking suction cup in my cock, and I'm zoning out because things aren't going to get better, and I hate the Jews, and I'm just going to sit here gooning all day long. Sorry, guys. If things are actually getting better, if there's actually hope, then if you don't do anything, you're a piece of shit. You're a fucking loser. You can't just sit around and complain all the time. You actually have to get in the fight. You actually have to start stepping up and being part of the solution. because now we can actually win. And so we're starting to realize that maybe we actually can win. I've seen a lot less of the doomer comments recently, because I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to come back. They're definitely going to come back. Second, there's a perceived setback, they're coming back. But look, even in Texas, which, and I say even in Texas because Texas is actually quite a cucked state. Okay, it's a cuck state. I don't care if it's a red state; it's a cuck state. Florida's, like I've always said, Florida is much better than Texas, and I think Florida is better than Texas because Florida was not red for a very long time. It recently became red, and it's getting more red. It's a state that people came to. I think Florida is much more of a revolutionary state. Texas is just like, coasting conservative state, right? Like a lot of these like reliably red states, you have a really corrupt Republican establishment that doesn't really care about. They don't really care about doing anything material. They don't really care about standing up to stuff. I think that they made like the Speaker of the House or something like that a Democrat recently. Like it's just like it's been a very depressing state in a lot of ways. Anyone who actually studies Texas politics isn't really super impressed. However, now it looks like the governor is going to start arresting people. I'm surprised to some extent. Maybe it's actually an indication that the people are starting to get a backbone. They see where stuff is going. They see where the ball's going. That Democratic members who don't return to caucus are going to get arrested for, or first they're going to have their seats vacated. And then if they accept any money to kind of deal with fines, then it's going to be bribery, felony payments, whatever. The point of all this stuff is that stuff is definitely happening. Okay, stuff is definitely happening, and you can see things moving towards a showdown. So there's a few things that I want to bring to your attention because we're in one of those stages. We're in like what I would like to call a positioning stage in the fight. So we've had a series of battles, right? There's a battle with Epstein. There's the Iran-Iraq stuff. Probably there's more before that. I can't remember. But after a lot of advancing these first 6 months, and then some scuffles towards the end of spring, early summer, we're now in like a positioning phase, and it very much feels like a lull. It's a real cliched expression. I wanted to call this the lull, but I'm thinking like, who's gonna click on the lull? I have to use something cute-hearted. I have to say something like the calm before the storm. Right? Is it the storm? Is it the storm? Is the storm about to happen? I have to use something stupid like that so that people are going to click on this video and they're going to watch it. And you're all here, so you fucking fell for it. I got all of you. All of you guys are suckers. No, but it is really like a lull. It's a lull, right? And by the way, if you track all these past years, we've talked about this on Old School COVID Cabal. The fall is typically a big action period. Like, the biggest action periods are typically in this sort of like spring fall time, because spring, it's like everything that's planted starts to bear fruit. So there's a lot of developments. You had COVID, you had Trump's first 3 months, and then you hit the summer, and there tends to be like markets are calm, a lot of things are very calm, and then you have the fall where the harvest comes. So there's a lot of stuff that then starts to, fall apart. There's developments. And I'm not trying to predict that you're going to have some grand, crazy event that happened in the fall. I'm just saying it's pretty typical that you don't have tons and tons of big happenings in the summer, especially as you get to the dog days of summer where we're at right now. July, August tend to be chill, right? Tend to be like a more chill period. And I think we're seeing that. But there's big stuff happening. So I want to bring to your attention a few things. So before Tulsi Gabbard released her report publicly in the States, she went to London. So this is what Tom Luongo's take on this. The Epstein kerfuffle was a shaping operation by U.S. UK intelligence community to damage Trump to minimize this and get everyone on the Twitter right chuckling in collapsitarianism. So I am gonna just be honest. Like I'm not convinced that Trump had full control of the Epstein situation. I know there's a lot of like Q people, hardcore plan trusters who say that Elon and Trump were always together, and Epstein stuff, Trump was trying to bait people into it. I still don't really see it, even notwithstanding Elon recently giving, I think, 5 billion to I hope it was 5 billion. It was a 5 million, doesn't matter, but giving 5 billion to Trump's PAC, Political Action Committee. That's obviously a sign of some mending, but other people will say, well, that just shows that it was all just, theater. It very well could be theater. It could be theater. I'm not saying it couldn't be theater. I'm just saying that it looked real. It looked real, right? The reactions were very real and natural. Elon has a black eye. There's rumors that Besson punched him in the face. Elon is out spewing like total vitriol against Besson and Bannon. It's very clear to me, this is my opinion, that there were some really serious spats that happened in the White House and disagreements, and Elon may be thinking that he had more leverage and more, influence in the administration than he did in the end. Maybe falling short on some stuff. I think that this is true of the tech right in general, who thought to some extent that they could, jump into MAGA and then get everything that they wanted. And they're realizing that, no, we're pretty seasoned fighters. We have a very clear vision. And the tech right has to get behind our policy on tariffs and immigration. And then we can create space for them to have their little tech playthings, just like we do the same thing with Maha, right? So I think that you can just as easily, and I think it's more logical, view Elon coming around to the fact that he has no home in the left anymore. Let's just, we're all big boys, and let's just come together. Let's start working together a bit, and we don't have to pretend. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you guys an example. You can have like somebody who, like, you guys are like best friends, bromance, and then there's like, you have some kind of issue, some falling out, right? And it's a big fight, but that doesn't mean you have to be enemies. I mean, a lot of times what happens in a group is that you guys can still like you guys aren't hanging out, and then gradually you start hanging out in the same group, come to parties together, and you guys are cool. You're not as close as you were before. You don't try to pretend that you still have that like fleeting bromance or whatever it was, but you're not like on bad terms. You don't have to be on bad terms. You just have a different relationship. It's a less close relationship. So I'm talking about this kind of stuff because I think that there's a plan, but just because you have a plan doesn't mean you get every single thing you want in every single round. Just because you have a strategy on the battlefield that means that you're going to win the battle most likely, it doesn't mean you're not going to take casualties, and it doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen on the battlefield that you don't expect to happen. This is one of my big issues with the plan trusters. Like, I studied military history pretty significantly, and I know this is psychological warfare. It's just a different dimension of warfare. It's all warfare. And I'll tell you that even the greatest military commanders, despite having sometimes brilliant strategies, very often what won battles was some divine luck. Something, they had a card that they could play, that an enemy made a mistake, an enemy advanced and got to a position, things were bad, but then they made a mistake, and the commander was able to see that advantage and take it. Or it could just be that one unit. This is one of the things also that is very much people don't realize, is that one position should be broken, right? But they don't break. Like, this is a famous thing in the Battle of Gettysburg, right? The 20th Maine was supposed to collapse when it was being attacked by the Confederacy on the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg. There's no reason it should have held on. but it had very, the commander there who got a Medal of Honor was refused to cede the position. And if they had lost that position, the entire Union front would have been rolled up. The Confederacy threw like multiple regiments at that one regiment, and that one regiment held on even to the point when they didn't have any ammunition yet. They bayonet charged. So the point here is that, like, you can't predict that unit is going to outperform in battle. Just like in another situation, you could have everything that you could have the numerical advantage, and morale collapses and things collapse. Same thing like with Hitler invading France. Germany did not have more soldiers than Belgium or France. It was a strategic maneuver. Okay, so you understand my own shaping of perception here. What this means is that Trump is going to make mistakes, even if he has a plan. Even if we do have the leverage, we're still in a fight. So whenever we say that, when we say Trump's incapable of making mistakes, I don't really think that that's the case. But I do think that Trump's adaptable, and something doesn't go the way he wanted. Like, I think the Epstein framing did not go the way he wanted, right? For instance, Trump is hemorrhaging support with younger voters over his Israeli first policy. Do you see Trump changing course on our greatest ally? I don't actually think, I've said this many times in the show, I think Trump supports Israel. I do not think that Trump is being controlled by Israel. I think that he's dealing with a lot of, I think he's trying to redefine the relationship, and we're in this transition point. He also has a lot of people in his cabinet who are very much not Israel first, right? Trump is the least, like, what I'm just going to say, and I'm not disputing criticism, because we're all tired of it. Every single one of us is tired of, Israel, our greatest ally, Israel. Every single one of us is fucking done seeing Mike Johnson, go to the Western Wall while he doesn't do anything in Congress. Okay, I'm not saying he doesn't do anything. He got the bill passed. So I'm very sympathetic and in agreement that, like, this I guess it's also like a brand of evangelical Christianity, dispensationalism or whatever, that, believes that Israel is like America's number one priority on a religious grounds, like a bunch of like fucking nonsense. Okay. I think that we also have to remember that Trump is by far the least Zionist president that we've had in ages, ever. I don't know, ever since the creation of Israel, maybe. Certainly you got to go back to, like, before, you have to go back many decades. And I don't think that anyone's giving Trump credit for this kind of stuff, that, he's not really giving Israel what they wanted. Israel wanted a big Mideast war, right? There's a lot of concessions that they wanted. Yeah, Kennedy, actually, right? And Kennedy got killed. So I know that we wish that we could just say, like, screw Israel, we're not going to work with them anymore, we hate them. I know a lot of people want that. I don't think it's a practical or pragmatic option. It's much, I think redefining the power dynamic in the relationship is really what Trump's trying to do, which does mean giving Israel some things that they want, but I think also trying to bring Israel into more of a vassal state. That is a different dynamic than what's happening with, and you can see, by the way, Trump doing the same thing with Europe. Okay. So Trump is trying to take all of these dynamics where the tail's been wagging the dog, and he is trying to flip it so that now the dog is wagging the tail again. But he's not necessarily trying to sever those relationships. He's just trying to give America the power in those relationships. And that can, especially when you're dealing with a very pro-Israel Congress, and you have to make deals with these people, Israel has a lot of leverage over Trump through leaders in Congress, who, by the way, are still not approving his appointments. So we have to remember all this stuff. So I understand the critiques, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't keep making critiques, but I also don't really take seriously the fact that they're, younger people aren't going to vote for Trump because of this and this and this. The reason that their support for Trump is dropped is because they want Trump to be more like Hitler, basically. They want fascism in the country. And by the way, I'm not even being pejorative about that. Like, they want real radical change. They want the rot pulled out. I don't think that Trump is going about it. She's trying to go about it through the institutions, through the donors. And I think sometimes maybe Trump's a little bit blinded by that, but he has a lot more connection to the base now than he did in his first term through X and through the various new people in his administration, many of whom came out of our community. So I think it's going to be okay. And you could see this recently where there was this big thing that they were going to, deny, that they're going to deny loans to places that, or like they're going to deny funds to states that, were anti-Semitic. That got pulled out. Now it's just now it's just like anti-white DEI stuff. So there's stuff going on within the, the organization, right? That is happening. And I see this, like, yeah, as you're saying, John, the younger generation views him as a transitory candidate, not transformative. And I think that's kind of like a mixed thing, to be honest. I'm not disagreeing with you that that's what they think, but history is going to view him very clearly as a transformative president. Very, very clearly as a transformative president. He may not complete the transition, right? In the same way that Washington was our first president, transformative president, but the transition was completed. Maybe you had the fighting between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists over policy, and you could say maybe that Jefferson won the day. I don't know. It's probably not a good analogy. I'm thinking out loud here, but the point is that Trump is going to be put up there as one of the greatest presidents in American history. There's no question. He's going to be on the top 3 greatest presidents in American history with Washington and Lincoln. So to say he's not transformative is obtuse, but I understand what they mean. They're thinking in terms of, they want every little last thing taken care of, and maybe he's not going to go the full distance, but he's going to lay all the groundwork for that to happen later on. But I don't think that the impact will be as transformative after him as what he's doing to the country right now. So it's kind of semantic argument, maybe, but they're going to vote for him. There's not a question that they're going to vote for his successor. I say vote for him. I don't know. Maybe he's going to run again. We'll see. People are talking about it. They're certainly talking about it. To be honest, I think it's more likely if he doesn't end up serving another term and things get changed up. I think it's more likely that occurs just because he's like, look, I'm going to be what, 80, 82, 83. Maybe I'm done. Maybe he's going to be too old for it. He's going to tell himself it's enough. I mean, we'll see how he's doing. We see what happens. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next. We'll see what happens. I didn't put the fucking thing in here. Okay, so what is Trump going to be doing? What is the transformations that are happening behind the scenes right now? So this is, about the king, that Charles is appalled by Donald Trump's recent remarks about immigration in the UK, that the king fears being put in an uncomfortable position politically if the president sounds off. The king would find that hard to take. Look, I'm going to give credit where credit's due, because Tom Luongo is the one who's mentioned it very explicitly. But I've made kind of similar inferences before that Trump is doing something very clearly with the Commonwealth. And I don't think, and I think Magenta Pixie, this psychic, she kind of talked about similar things. The Anglosphere is kind of not just Canada, it may be the entire Commonwealth ends up kind of becoming under America's protection. But there's different levels to this kind of conspiracy. And I talked about this on Twitter as like one of my schizo theories, is that Trump is actually going to change the monarchy in Britain, that he may restore the true king, or he may become king himself. I don't know, guys. I'm please take this portion of the commentary super lightly. I'm kind of just having fun. I'm kind of just shit posting. I am being serious about some things here because Trump is from Clan MacLeod, right? The if you actually look at this, that's a Scottish clan, right? And supported the Stuarts. There's a lot of stuff that there's actually a Stuart king, or maybe it's a queen. There is an heir to the throne. If you followed the Stuart line, remember the Stuarts were overthrown with the Glorious Revolution in 1688, which, by the way, is what put the House of Windsor in. There was the Hanoverians, right? They changed their name to Windsor because it sounds more British, but they're actually from Germany, Western Germany. And they were very tied to the financial elite. And it was after the Glorious Revolution that the British monarchy began to be controlled by financial interests like the Rothschilds. Okay, so there's actually a lot of deep lore and historical significance to this kind of stuff. It is obviously a very corrupt monarchy, and was the monarchy that really, built the empire, so to speak, in the financial. It basically made the crown became completely controlled by financial interest, which initially, like it happens when a country sells itself out to financial interest, results in a short-term boom, and then eventually a total rot within the country and disillusion. Same thing happened to Poland, by the way. So in the 1500s, 1600s. So all this being said, I think that there is something to this, and I think it's also significant that Trump summoned Keir Starmer to his castle in Scotland to talk to him. The imagery of this kind of stuff is very powerful, cannot be understated. I think something is happening, and from what I hear on the ground in Britain, remigration is a talk of the town everywhere. Talk of the town everywhere. So it is it's coming. It's absolutely coming. I mean, and this is what I think a lot of people don't understand, is that these institutions have such little legitimacy. Like in Canada right now, they are bringing in so many migrants that I'm not sure if I trust these numbers, because to me it sounds like out of control. But that you will have, they're replacing, like, I don't, like, somewhere between, hold on a second, I might be able to find it. I don't want to just like spout off things that are not that I didn't see as accurate. Give me 1 second here. Let me see something. Okay. So this is what I read from. All right, I'm gonna bring this up so you guys can see. All right, let's put this one in here. Better for me to read it. All right, let's go. Come on. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Canada is on track to import just under 10% of its population this year through legal immigration, which means heritage Canadians will be a minority in their own country in 2 years. The current population who live in Canada will be a minority in 8 years. That is a level of replacement, and it's happening in Australia as well. Similar kind of levels. This is a level of replacement that is actually completely incomprehensible. And I know even a country like Canada, these systems hit a breaking point. They're pushing so fast because they know that there's, the frog boiled in America, and they're worried that it's about to pop off everywhere else. So they're literally trying to make it as difficult as possible for what they're trying to do to be reversed. That's what it is. That's all it is. They know on some level that they've lost. They're just hoping that people are not going to be able. They've fucked things up so badly that people can't fix it. That's really what this is at this point in time. And I think they're going to find that people actually are willing to fix it. That there is enough, speaking about the youth, right? Speaking about the youth is very much like we're fucking ready to do it. We're ready to do it. You know, you're not going to say that somebody who came here in the last 10 years has as much claim to the country as, you know, like I do because my family came here in the 1600s. You know, it's not, these are not arguments that are working on people anymore. The whole feminist female kind of guilt manipulation context, that kind of stuff is done. So things are going to change. Things are changing. And even with the Ukraine war, I mean, this is something that Alex Craner mentioned. So he's saying there's a lot of talk now about Zelensky replacing Zelensky. Trump doing a lot of escalatory rhetoric when it comes to Ukraine. But Craner talked about before how Zelensky was gone for like 2 weeks, and it's widely believed he went to Moscow. So is Zelensky, who, by the way, does come from like an MI6 kind of grooming background, is it possible that Zelensky's making a deal with Russia? Is this like a behind-the-scenes face-saving thing? Because, you know, Trump wants face-saving. Russia has to get what it wants in Ukraine, but Russia can't win the war, right? You see this. This is like the narrative dilemma for Trump. If it was us, we'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Take Ukraine, take it. Give Poland Lviv maybe, right? But take it. But Trump's not like that, and Trump's a better negotiator. Trump wants to get maximum leverage. So but how do you stop this war from happening? Is it possible that if you get rid of Zelensky, you then have somebody who can make an agreement with Russia, but the agreement ends up being essentially a capitulation to Russia, but maybe Ukraine doesn't get fully annexed. I don't know. I don't know if this is the play. I don't know if Europe's going to allow that to go through, in the sense that, are they going to try more provocations? Russia's integrating more and more with Belarus right now. So I don't know. When I look at the war, like Trump's angle was to try to get third parties against Russia to start to, like, they have to, what's the word I'm looking for? That if they continue to trade with Russia, then we're not going to trade with them. It hasn't really been working. I don't think Trump has a ton of leverage over Russia. So I don't know if the conflict escalates or if this is an exit ramp, but it's interesting that they're talking about it. It's either, like, I'll tell you this, if Zelensky gets put in there, it's either going to be a way to reinvigorate the war effort, because Ukraine is having protests all across the country about the mobilization. They're tired of the war. They're tired of Zelensky. Is it, you know, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? Or is it going to be someone, you know, is it going to be just the pretext to the end of the war? I don't know. But I will tell you this. Trump is signaling very clearly that there are going to be mass arrests in the United States and that it's coming. And I've said before, ever since we started season 2 COVID Cabal, what have I said? I said Trump has about a year, 15 months from when he came into office to get this stuff sorted. We need to have most of this stuff done by the summer of 2026. I think he wanted to have the 250th on July 4th to be pretty clean. So I am expecting a lot of this stuff to be happening between the fall and spring of 2026. It doesn't really matter what I think in terms of the time frame. I'm not doing some sort of weird delta stuff. I do think if you're into astrology, there's a lot of astrology that supports things starting to get more intense December, especially by February next year. But I will say this, he's signaling this stuff is going to happen. So we have, like, this is all the stuff with Q. Like, I'll just keep saying this again. Like, if you think Q's a psyop, then you think Trump is, why does Trump keep signaling all this stuff over and over again to it? Right? I'm not saying he posted the Q post, but every single thing he's doing is reiterating the Q stuff. He posted this with Lincoln. Sanctuary city mayors are defying federal law. They are insurrectionists, just like the Southern governors during the Civil War. President Trump should declare martial law in those cities, arrest the mayors, reappoint military governors, restore the rule of law. Does anyone for a second think that this isn't coming to a head? I mean, look, Mandami is going to win in New York. I'm going to tell you something about Mandami is not like, he's not just like some corrupt inner city mayor who wants to get his grift and get out. He is a true believer. This is somebody who is a full-blown communist. They already have their plans to have like people flown to the entire country for, you know, transitions, and that stuff is minor. I'm just telling you, like, New York City is a city of so many immigrants. I think it's like only 1/3 of the city is not either an immigrant or not born to an immigrant. It might be 1/4. And Mandami himself was only naturalized a few years ago. I see full-blown revolution happening in New York, and like Paris Commune style stuff. I see that happening. They're going to completely resist federal orders, and unlike a lot of these people, I don't think he's going to back down. I really don't think he's going to back down. And I think it'll embolden some of the other mayors too. And let's be honest, the only way we're going to get these cities under control is to put them under military rule. We need to put them under military rule and completely clean up the mess, because they're totally gone. And we can't allow these cities also to distort the state elections. So I think the military is coming for it. I think it's coming. These cities are going the opposite direction politically from the rest of the country, from the rest of the world. And that means an inevitable clash point is going to accelerate in a big way. And they're going to think, look at all the support I have on the ground here. This is a strong point. I can hold it. And they're going to be wrong, because you can't hold a city against a country. You can't. I mean, if Trump wanted to, he could starve the city. He's not going to do that, I don't think. But that just shows the weakness of the position. This is not the first time communists have tried to take over a city. I mean, I really recommend you guys study the Paris Commune revolts of 1870. Yeah. This is their calling card to put up. I don't know if there's going to be barricades, but I think you're going to see some shit happen. I don't know if they're strong enough these days. You know what I mean? I don't know if these DSA types, they're like obese and wearing, or like, you know, disgusting looking and wearing masks still. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but either way, I think you're going to see military on the streets in these cities. And that's what's coming, guys. I'm going to stand by it. That's what's coming. And after that happens, you're going to see, I don't even think it's going to take till 2030. I think it's really like 2026 to 2028. You're going to see revolutions across Europe. Just like in 1848, when there was revolutions across Europe, you're going to see it. It's due. You can feel it in the zeitgeist. And with America supporting, America could support very easily too. It's literally that people start to rise up, and you started to see these massive protests across the cities in Britain. You see them start to rise up, and the government tries to push against them. What does Trump have to do? Trump has to make a statement saying that he's not going to allow the government of the United Kingdom to deploy against its own citizens. That's it. They're fucking done. Trump sends a carrier group off the coast of the United Kingdom. That government collapses immediately. Like, that's what I'm trying to say for people. People are like, well, the government won't allow it. We're the guys with the big fucking guns here. Keir Starmer does not have the ability to put down a domestic revolt that has even just the tacit support of the United States. It's going to be okay, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. It's going to be okay. Things are going to be, they're going to be messy in these other countries, but it's going to be okay. And when it starts in one, when Trump starts arresting these deep state people, and it's coming, you know, they're saying it over and over again. I know people want it to happen. Legal time moves slower than political time. We're all tired of it. There's so many things, like, I could be like, oh, look at this new revelation. It's not a revelation. I knew this stuff happened. I've known for, you know, 5 to 10 years at this point, or let's say 4 to 9 years at this point. Many of the things that people are now like proving, like we knew it. We want the arrest. I'm with you. I'm in the same boat, right? But the bottom line is that this is going to happen when all the ducks are in a row for it to happen, and there's financial elements to it, the reshoring of all this money. Tulsi Gabbard going to, I didn't finish this thought before, Tulsi Gabbard going to Britain a week before all this stuff happening. I digressed on Epstein. There's something really to that when it comes to the leverage that we just had with these deals internationally. There's some, like, all this stuff leads back to Britain. All of it leads back to Britain, and probably indirectly to the EU too. So a lot of people's heads are on the chopping block. But we got to do it right. And he's also got to seed these ideas into the general public's mind. Now, I know a lot of us are super awake. We want it. But if you don't want this to boil over into some kind of civil war, you need to make sure everything is really airtight, and you need to seed the idea out so that people start demanding it themselves, right? We should arrest these people. They're on treason. Well, you're the president. Arrest them. Arrest them. The people start then shouting that they want to arrest. They want these people arrested. Then when Trump does it, he's doing it with consent. This is how you generate consent in the public. It's like a trial balloon, which is an old political trick, where they have someone leak a story and then they gauge public reaction to the story, and then they determine how to proceed based on that. That's what Trump's doing. And what he's finding out is that people really do want them arrested. He is generating that consent. He's also seeing who's going to oppose him, who can he trust, who can he not. There's so much layers to this, and we got to be mature here. But it's going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I already went to prison for believing this stuff, so I don't have to say like I'm going to go to prison. I will go to prison. I'm so certain about this, but I really am. I mean, I'm actually amazed to some extent, because you kind of start to believe yourself, like, well, maybe I'm just fucking nuts. But then you start to see more and more of it all line up. All the pieces are coming together. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm not even sure, to be honest, guys, about one thing. There is one thing I want to say. I'm not sure any longer about this big financial crash, because it's what the cabal wants. But I don't know. Trump's making himself, like, he's making America pretty good looking for investment right now. He's pulling all this money back to the country. So while I'm very not bullish on Europe, I don't know if there is going to be some global recession, America is going to do the best of everybody else at this point in time. So, all right, I'm going to go through these comments real quick. I apologize for you guys. I was on a roll. You know what I mean? I had to do my thing. Let me see here. Where was these things I didn't respond to? Yeah. Trump, Miriam Addison. I don't know who that is, Miriam Addison. Trump has to demand the donors of Miriam Addison, and also trying to say America first. I don't even know who that is. What Israel wants is to take over Palestine. They're doing that just now by ethnic cleansing. Trump clearly aligned and could care less about genocide going on. I think I think, well, first I'll say this. I do think Israel has gotten to a point where they really do not care. And maybe it's because they feel like their window to be able to do this is evaporating. They couldn't do it the way that they wanted to do it, so they're just going full hog. This is going to be really unpopular to say. It's going to be really unpopular to say, because look, I know what's going on in Gaza is absolutely horrific. I know it is ethnic cleansing. There's no question it's ethnic cleansing. Okay. I know a lot of people get upset when you talk like this because it makes you seem like some kind of shill. But the bottom line is that if I was an Israeli, I don't think I would give a fuck either. because you've been at war with these people. And yeah, whose fault is it? Whatever. You've been at war with these people for 80 years. And there's always some drama, even if it's just annoying. Like, I think that maybe it could have happened if you didn't have Zionists in control. Maybe you could have come to some sort of agreement. But the bottom line is they both want the same land, and it's been a semi-frozen conflict. And Netanyahu is saying enough's enough. I'm gonna pull the Band-Aid off, and we're just gonna go through it. And then when they're gone, it's over. We're gonna push them out of there. We're gonna push them to Egypt, and if we kill a lot of them, we don't care. That is really disgusting to, a humanitarian attitude, but that is actually war. 1 million Germans were moved from all across Eastern Europe in forced deportations after World War II was over. 1 million Germans died during forced deportations from all these other countries in Eastern Europe. I'm not talking about Germans who came there with Hitler. I'm talking about Germans who had been living there for hundreds of years. They were killed in camps and in movements across Europe. Many, many other ethnic groups were also killed or certainly dispossessed, being forcibly migrated from one place to another. So again, am I being callous? I'm absolutely being callous. But a lot of these things are like, we have had over 1 million Ukrainians in over 100,000 Russians dead in Ukraine. So, I mean, the bottom line is that when you're dealing with war, when people both want territories and they want certain people out of territories they want, people die. And Gaza is not a national security interest for the United States. So that's really what it comes down to, guys. Like, I know that's really like insensitive, but the people in Gaza don't give a shit about the United States either. And of course, maybe they don't give a shit about the United States because the United States supports Israel. Maybe they hate us because of that. That's reasonable. But it doesn't change the fact that it's true. So what I don't like, I'll tell you what I don't like. What I don't like is supporting Israel while they're doing it. I don't like that. To me, that makes us complicit to some extent. But I don't know how much direct aid we have been giving Israel to conduct its war in Gaza. I do think that we've given them some stuff with Iran. Feel free to DM me on Twitter and correct me about it, because it certainly wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't true. I don't like being part of the ethnic cleansing in Gaza. But if you're Israel first as an Israeli, I totally understand why they're just like, I don't like, we've already started, we might as well finish. Why leave why let them go back to the city and then have the same thing start again? Let's just end it. That's real world, guys. That is the real world. From my observations, everyone, including the youth, is tired of so many avenues they used to enjoy, continuing to push more and more wokeism, and Orange is the highest level person they see saying no. Yep, that's true. It's true. I mean, look, Trump's doing amazing. People can complain if they want to complain, but he's doing amazing. Best president of my life. Best president at this term is amazing. I mean, he had his first term stolen from him, so we should be able to come back, right? He seems like his job is a 12-year effort. I agree. I actually think that we need Trump a little bit longer, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys. Well, I gotta run. It went longer than I thought it would go. We got almost a full hour in here. So that's how great you guys are. Like, even when I didn't come with like tons of stuff, we still had a lot to talk about. So I love you all. I'll see you on the next show. And don't forget to check out tomorrow. I'm going to have an interview with Trina. And I actually forgot what we're talking about, but it's going to be an awesome conversation, as it always is. I'll see you guys.